This class will be concerned with self-managed learning and lifelong development. Let's start with looking at lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is an ongoing process of acquiring knowledge in order to develop both personal and professional development. So it's an ongoing process. It starts when we're a child and it finishes at the end of our lives. It's ongoing, which means that every day we acquire new knowledge, and we must recognize it as that and put ourselves in a position to acquire the knowledge and assimilate the knowledge, to add it to our stock of knowledge, to make improvements to us professionally, so we are more skilled at our work, and also to enhance us as individuals and to make us better citizens of the country. This procedure, as I said, the lifelong learning procedure, continues throughout our lives. We're always learning and developing our skills and knowledge. Doing so helps us to adapt to changing demands of society. And it's important to recognize that society is not standing still. Over the last probably 30 years, we have experienced immense changes to our society because of the onset of rapid technological change. Not just computers and computers networks, but the way we work and the way we view society and the way we organize ourselves in society. There have been immense changes to the world in which we live, and it's important for us to understand that, and we acquire the information through our senses, through looking and seeing and listening, and we learn by doing. And in this way we acquire new knowledge, and it is an ongoing process. It never stops. Continuous learning is also very important for organizations and for their success. Organizations must be willing to learn and adapt to changing economic and business environments. So it's not just the individual who has to learn, but companies have to learn. They have to learn about what the customers want. What sort of products are in demand? What are the aspirations of the buyers? What do the buyers require? And there's a need to show that the company is up to date. And governments must do the same, in fact. Governments must keep abreast of what's happening in society. What are the opinions of the people in society, and what sort of society do they want? And the governments must reflect those concerns. So this idea of lifelong learning is just talking about a process that's ongoing in our personal lives, in our professional lives, and in the lives of companies, and in the life of the country itself, the political life of the country. Now let's look at some points about lifelong learning. Now there are initiatives and methods of continuous learning that we may identify. For example, asking questions for clarity in order to challenge yourself. The idea of challenging yourself is not new. It goes all the way back probably to the Greeks, to the early Greeks, who loved debate and loved to question everything they believed and try to justify their beliefs. But they left their beliefs open to be challenged. Anyone could challenge their beliefs. And it's through challenging the belief that we get to justify it, or we get to argue as to why we believe what we do. And if we can justify it, then it's, generally speaking, quite a sound belief. But we need to challenge ourselves. We don't need to accept what others say. We need to understand it for ourselves, and it should make sense to us. And if it makes sense to us, then we can subscribe to that belief. So asking questions and looking for clarity is a good thing. It helps us to understand more. And we should also engage in reflection. Reflection, thinking back to what has happened in the past, is important as a means of learning because it gives us insights into what happened, and faced with similar circumstances in the future, we are more prepared. So reflecting on feedback from management or senior staff, or reflecting on feedback from tutors, having submitted an essay perhaps, or having made some presentation, the feedback is important. Of course, the feedback should be constructive. It should be designed to help and not destructive, as in designed to hurt. But it's important for us to reflect on what's happening. It's a good idea perhaps at the end of the day, every day, to reflect on the day and what's happened throughout the day and see what we can learn from the day's events. Taking an interest in training programs and courses offered at work or other facilities. It's always wise to, in terms of work, to see what courses are available which will help us to improve our performance at work. There's normally a lot of short courses offered, usually at other institutions, training institutions and so on, that may help us in making a better contribution at work, and of course thereby enhance our own career prospects. So taking an interest in training programs is generally a good idea. It's a good idea also to get involved in opportunities. When an opportunity comes along, subscribe to it, make a contribution, try to polish the proposal, try to refine the idea, try to help and try to get involved, because that's a way of promoting yourself. And always try to learn from more experienced members of staff. That's a shortcut way of learning. Without learning from experienced members of staff, you have to go through all of the experiences yourself, and you will get a lot wrong. So why not learn from members of staff who have done it before and have had the experience of getting it right and getting it wrong, but who are willing to pass on what their experiences were. So as a part of this lifelong learning idea, being involved with groups of experienced people is a good way of promoting your learning and ensuring that you are better prepared for the type of situations that may come up in the future. You should always be in a position where you can conduct a strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats analysis of your own capabilities, and look at your areas of improvement and derive objectives or goals that you can aim at. So try to imagine yourself in this framework of a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What can you do best? What can you do very well at the moment? What can you do exceptionally well compared to others? What are your weaknesses? List your weaknesses. What are the weaknesses professionally? Weaknesses in work? What are your personal weaknesses? What's your concentration span like? What's your English skills like? Have you got good grammar? Can you spell well? Can you write professional looking emails, and can you communicate effectively? Are you weak in numbers and in mathematics? So be very honest and then try to correct the weaknesses. And also try to see what opportunities are available to you at work. Perhaps moving department, or asking to work on a different project. And what are the threats? Perhaps the company is going to recruit new personnel who will have better skills than you and will therefore pass you. So what can you do about it? The obvious answer is you acquire the skills before they arrive, if possible. And identify your learning style in order to maximize your learning capabilities. Your learning style was dealt with in a different video, but essentially it bubbles down to, are you good at observations? Do you use your eyes well and learn from what you see? Or are you auditory? Do you listen attentively and understand what's been said and have a good attention span? Or do you prefer to learn by doing, which was referred to as kinesthetic? Are you a doer as opposed to a passive learner? Now, lifelong learning. Well, in order to challenge and develop ourselves, we must first assess our experiences and our potential. We can't assess ourselves unless we know what our experiences are and what is our potential. So it's probably wise to try and push ourselves to see what's our breaking point, what can we do and what can we not do, and be realistic about ourselves. Once we know what our capacities are, we should be realistic. We are, after all, human beings, and the objective is to have a good life and a happy life. So don't get overly concerned about situations that you cannot control or tasks that you cannot perform because you haven't got the ability to do it. We are all different, but we should recognize what our experiences are and what is our potential. And we should try to know this about ourselves. Now, lifelong learning is encouraged through self-managed learning, where we try to set out programs of learning for ourselves. This could be simply there is a new task in the office and we need to understand the task and be able to achieve it. It might be a new piece of software that's been introduced. We need to learn the software, we need to understand the software, what it can do, what are its shortcuts, and how to master it, perhaps. It could be a task on the shop floor in engineering, or if it's woodwork, it could be a task with some new machine to refine woodworking practices, or whatever. It depends on the nature of the business, but we should be able to get involved in this ourselves. We shouldn't have to be pushed into it. We're managing our own learning. We're managing what we want, and we are managing our own, if you like, portfolio of skills to enable us to get to where we want to be in the future. There is also what's called continuing professional development, CPD, and this will be referred to often throughout the classes. Continuing professional development is looking for ways in which our professional development, our work-related development, is or can be developed. Ways in which it can be developed, and this is a continuing thing. It's not a one-off. It's not simply like attending a course for a week and that's it. This is continuing. We attend a course for the week, then we attend a follow-up course, then we apply what we know, we learn from our experiences, we make notes of what has gone wrong, we note any shortcuts or any efficiency we've derived from the course or from our own experiences. So it's continuing. It's a continuing professional development concept. Let's look at this in slightly more detail. Let's talk about self-managed learning. Self-managed learning is solely based on the individual. It's self-managed. And the words suggest that it is the individual, and that you're responsible for your own learning. It's self-managed, and the management of resources. So the title self-managed learning is almost self-explanatory. It means you are taking control of your learning situation. You are taking control of it, and you are managing your own development. Now, some individuals are highly motivated and others are not. The ones who are highly motivated are determined to succeed. So it depends on individuals' motivations. Some people are happy just to have a job and continue and get paid at the end of the month or the end of the week and be happy. Others are more motivated. They want to achieve more. They want to become the manager, and then they want to become a director, and then they want to become something else, and they want to move into a bigger company, and so on and so on. So it depends on individuals, and it's the degree of motivation that drives the self-managed learning. The more motivated people are, the more they are going to engage in self-managed learning. They will see everything as an opportunity to learn, and they will be constantly adding what they see, what they hear, what they experience. They'll be adding those experiences to their stock of experiences to improve their overall performance. The motivated individuals are the ones that are more effective in managing their learning. That's the point. Now, self-managed learning. Well, in self-managed learning, individuals are subconsciously making decisions on what they learn and how they will learn in order to maximize their learning experiences. So sometimes we're confronted with a lot of information, a lot of experiences, and what we've got to do is we've got to filter the ones that we want, the ones that will best suit our requirements. If our requirements are to become a better accountant or a better solicitor or a better manager or whatever, then we select the experiences that help us and that contribute towards our stock of experiences in that area. So we are constantly, if you like, discriminating within the experiences and selecting the ones that help us best. When and where they learn and why they are learning. So self-managed learning it's ongoing. So the when and where, generally speaking, is ubiquitous. We learn everywhere. We learn from experiences. It's just that sometimes we're in an environment where there is a lot more relevance in the experiences. So at work, when a new piece of software has been introduced to process certain information, that is more directly relevant to us, so we should pay more attention there. And the when we learn, well, the when is all the time, but the when is also related to the where. We learn when it's available. We learn when the information is available for us to acquire. Individuals that are effective in managing their own learning learn from others and experience. So individuals who are effective in learning from their own experience, when they do a good job in learning, they tend to be learning from others and their experience. As I said to you earlier in the session, learning from others' experiences is a good thing. It's a good thing because others have made mistakes and have learned from the mistakes. They've learned best practice. And if we can acquire the best practice, then we learn not to make those same mistakes. So learning from others is a very important form of self-learning. And putting ourselves into a position where we can acquire that knowledge is important. It's important to read and to have involvement with projects. It's important to know not just the issues, but the surrounding areas, the grey areas around the situation. So we not just know about the project that's been introduced, let's say, in the work, but we know how the project will affect the department and how the department links to the other departments and why this department is important and so on. So we have a full picture of what's going on. So reading is important. Understanding the environment is important, the business environment, and it could be the departmental environment. And it's important to get involved with the projects because we learn from the projects, which enables us to get involved in more sophisticated projects in the future. Sometimes it's possible to get secondments, to be released from an organisation to go and work in a different organisation to get new experiences. Generally speaking, that should be welcomed because it widens the experience of the person, it widens their knowledge, and they are learning from that wider experience. It's also showing enthusiasm on their part and involvement and commitment. So secondments are, generally speaking, a good source of learning and should be sought out and applied for. But we also have coaching and mentoring. Mentoring is when a member of staff with experience takes on another member of staff with less experience and teaches them, takes them through various scenarios and various situations and helps them learn and helps them to acquire knowledge. It's passing on information. Coaching is slightly different. Coaching is giving the rules, setting out the rules and showing them best practice given the rules. But this may be done to several members of staff at the same time, whereas mentoring tends to be one-to-one. Self-managed learning, well, individuals can manage their learning through effective aids and tools, such as setting goals and objectives and ensuring that they are smart. Now, we've talked about the SMART rules, the SMART approach to picking objectives in other sessions. But generally speaking, they should look at picking goals and objectives and making sure that the goals and objectives are specific, they're achievable, and that they can be acquired efficiently, and that they are within the capacity of the person who's seeking out whatever goals and objectives there are. And as I said earlier, perform a personal SWOT analysis, a strength, weakness, opportunities and threats analysis, and look at qualification gaps to see what does the job require and what does the person have at the moment, and what's the gap. If the job requires a degree and the person hasn't got a degree, then what can be done about that? If the job requires a professional qualification, then what can be done about that? Can anything be done about it? It's important to keep and maintain a development plan to show where the person is and what's required and show progress towards achieving the plan. So the plan may be a career plan which states that in 5 years' time the person will be head of a department within the company. At the moment they are a junior member of staff. Well, that's a big requirement. Now, what can be done to advance that? What can be done to promote the person within that environment? It's also important to keep deadlines and achieve goals. It indicates that the person is managing him or herself effectively. That there is not just self-managed learning, but there is self-management. They are able to meet their deadlines and achieve their goals. Adopting effective time management strategies that best suit the individual needs. It's important to be able to time manage and to do it effectively. Time management is important in business to make sure that when a task arrives that it can be achieved within the required time. That is a realistic requirement as well. So that time management is an issue that should be brought into the open and discussed openly with the manager or whoever is requiring a particular task. The person should be aware of his or her personal learning styles. What is his or her best way of learning? And in a different video we talked about auditory, visual and kinesthetic types of learning. And that's important. It's important that the person knows if they're good listeners or if they tend to be visual or they prefer to learn something by doing it. So they should be aware of their personal strengths and weaknesses in this context. And they should be able to critically reflect on achievements. Looking back, learning about what happened, reflecting on what happened. When a task has been completed, look back on the task and think over the different processes and what could have been done better, and make notes about these and acquire knowledge from what has been done and what has been achieved. It has been a learning experience. Now let's look at this idea of continuous professional development. Well, CPD offers individuals to participate in training and development methods in order to enhance their skills and knowledge. So it offers individuals to participate in training and development methods. So it's something that's aimed at individuals to help them to develop. It also benefits the organization, not just the individuals. The organizations, of course, benefit by having a more skillful workforce and a more dedicated workforce, a workforce who more appreciate what is required. CPT works alongside self-managed learning. Individuals must ensure they effectively manage their resources, time, and facilities to enhance their learning experience. So CPD is looking at self-managed learning as a vehicle to provide people with a platform to learn about their professional development. And their professional development may be to acquire some professional recognition, professional qualification, perhaps. Or it could be to get something on their CV which has shown them to be effective in achieving certain tasks, tasks which perhaps others might have found very difficult. So they are using self-managed learning to promote this professional side to themselves. Now there are different types of continuing or continuous professional development or continuing professional development, whichever one. In the UK, there are different organisations. For example, there's an organisation called Learn Direct. And this is the UK's leading organisation which aims to introduce innovative techniques to deliver training and assessment. Now, Learn Direct is an organisation which is just trying to promote certain skills within the working population, and it does this by making these skills available, usually online or throughout a distribution of centres. It works with individuals and organisations to develop the skills in order to succeed. So it looks at mostly vocational skills, very applied skills, and tries to provide learning material for individuals to acquire this information which will help them in their professional lives. Learn Direct was actually the first organisation in the UK to devise unique learning strategies, for example e-learning and the establishment of local centres. So it's a blend of two things. It's online, so it's online classes, but it also operates local centres where members of Learn Direct may go along and get classes and get help and advice and a source of support which is necessary. Self-managed learning can be quite lonely, so sometimes it's important to have a mentor or have someone else who will help along the way and give encouragement. It's important to keep up the momentum. The focus of Learn Direct is to offer every individual the opportunity to learn and acquire skills which will help them thrive in today's competitive market. So that's the idea. The idea is to help the individual and to promote their opportunity to learn, which will help them to not just learn but acquire the skills that are necessary for today's industry and today's commerce. Learning them to acquire professional work at a good level and to promote their own self-interest, because working helps us promote our personal ambitions to own a house and drive a nice car and have holidays and so on. So it's important for the individual to have a good focus on the type of skills that are required in today's industry. Now that focus means being up to date and have an understanding that the skills of today will be outdated by tomorrow. They will need continuous updating. And that's the whole idea of the continuous professional development idea and of self-learning. And Learn Direct is one of the earliest proponents of this type of learning. It collaborates with existing organisations to help employees to develop skills. That is wise because many organisations have a good set of experiences in delivering individual classes, work-related classes, skill updating classes and programs. And Learn Direct, having become involved with local organisations, a more coherent learning package is able to be developed out of that. It's important to harness staff talent, motivation and retention, and through the acquisition of skills and promotion of skills, then it's important that the individuals who acquire the skills are able to promote themselves in industry and in commerce, and to ensure that they are up to date. And the companies must rely on their enthusiasm, the staff enthusiasm, to acquire these skills. It's self-managed. But also, the companies have an issue about the retention of those staff, and to ensure that the staff are not going to move on having acquired skills at their expense. So there is a tension there between the companies and the individuals. The companies want the individuals to be highly trained, highly skilled, but must recognize that when individuals have acquired those skills and have acquired the culture of acquiring the skills, then the staff may move on to better positions elsewhere. LearnDirect offer apprenticeships, functional skills, ICT qualifications, maths, English, and the national vocational qualifications. So it helps with apprenticeships, and it helps with all of those areas, and providing qualifications and courses tailor-made to those situations. Now, it's also the case that apprenticeships is a form of learning. It provides training for individuals in preparation for the world of work. Apprenticeships are offered for a range of occupations where individuals have the opportunity to earn a salary and gain on-the-job training. So apprenticeships can vary from perhaps 3 years, 5 years, it depends. And apprenticeships can be offered in engineering areas, or it could be offered in tailoring or hotel management. It can be offered in many areas. And the idea with apprenticeships is that the person who is the apprentice is a worker and also a student of that particular skill. They are learning by doing. Apprenticeships are available for anyone over the age of 16 and reap the following benefits. First of all, the person earns a salary so they can live. There's holiday pay. They get some time off in the year. They receive training and they receive a qualification and skills. So apprenticeships are important. The types of apprentices or of apprenticeships, well, there's a train to gain. The whole idea is to train to make a better future. There's something called a New Deal in the UK, which helps companies take on apprentices, and the national vocational qualifications, which are aimed at the experiences of apprentices. So apprenticeships are very important as a means of this whole area of learning, self-managed learning, and the acquisition of skills within industry. Now let's move to the graduate training program. These are training schemes offered by employers. These programs provide opportunities for graduates to experience working in their desired career. So, generally speaking, these training schemes are aimed at graduates who want to acquire skills in a particular area and want to experience what that area has to offer. These programs last from 1 to 2 years. In this time, the graduates are expected to take part in on-the-job and off-the-job training. So the graduates are expected to work on the job, learn from doing, perhaps apply what they've learned at university, and also perhaps start to acquire new skills and new qualifications related to the chosen career path. The graduate training program are valuable training initiatives for graduates. They're highly sought after, and many graduates try to get involved in this type of program. Then there's further education. Now this is post-compulsory education offered to students over the age of 16 and adult education. So it's post-compulsory. Compulsory education is up to the age of 16, so this is above 16, and it enables students who perhaps are not going to university but want to take a more vocational route through their career. They're able to acquire skills related to that pathway through further education. It offers an array of courses from basic skills training to advanced vocational courses. You can do, for example, A-levels, which tend to be more academic, but there's BTEC, the Business and Technical Education Council, which offers a blend of academic and vocational courses, the H&D being an example. Then there's the GNVQ, Apprenticeships, Higher National Diplomas and Foundation Degrees. So there's a whole range of qualifications that may be picked up in further education. It offers many continuing professional development opportunities for individuals to enhance their skills and knowledge, and also benefits organisations. So what we've done now is we've looked at self-managed learning, we've looked at some areas surrounding it, and looked at some of the institutions, mostly in the UK, that have picked up on the idea of self-managed learning, the individual promoting him or herself to try and acquire the skills that are needed in today's working environment, and realizing that this is an ongoing process. It's a lifelong process. So having looked at these, that's really all we need to do in this session. So I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.